Hello and welcome to episode 313 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, the place where the small press makes a big noise. I'm Vince Hunt, writer of MI666, and joining me as always are the creator of the webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And the writer who knows no boundaries, Mr. Tony Esmond.
Well, I've got to say, I think someone might be giving me a run for my money around that.
That's
and we just
true.
interviewed him. Yeah. We enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yes. Those that have heard us talk about like dangerous comics, underground comics, and the strange, wonderful, and hilarious sort of comic books are in for a treat. As we spoke to Patrick Sparrow this week, and if you don't know his work, you will in a short while,
because it's been making us laugh all day.
Yep. We have to speak to someone whose the name of one of their comic is A Dirt Baby and Bone Cat. That's just how we roll on this show. And it was quite fitting, I think, considering one of the things I got in the post today was your new book, Tony. As well.
Yeah.
So I'm surrounded.
You got
by
both those at the same time, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
You're on a watch list now, mate. I tell you now.
Oh God.
That was like a 1-2 punch. Reading one of those two fucking.
Yeah. If you read those two one after the other, and we're talking about the new Atomic Hercules, Weapon of Mass Destruction, and Tales of the Peeper Creeper, if you read them one after the other, something weird happens to your brain, doesn't it?
You try and assassinate the president. They
are like psychedelics that sort of. Yeah. I don't know. I still don't know who I am anymore. and that's what comics. Oh, I know enough about myself to answer that. I also know enough about myself that this week I'm going to finish the sponsorship ad, just in case anyone caught on. No one said it. No one noticed, but it was a message that I sent to the guys after the episode because we didn't finish it, as we always do. I mean, we got the important information in. That if you go to comichouse.com, our wonderful sponsors, you'll find an indie comic marketplace with a difference that they love indie comics as much as us. And you'll find like a huge selection of titles on their database. And if you yourself self-publish, you could list your book on there. It's another avenue for you to start selling your books. And also, they've got an app where there's loads of stuff. I mean, I didn't finish this.
Really throwing yourself into the acting on this one, aren't you?
I can't.
It's going all right, I think.
Yeah, it's going well.
Yeah, well, I feel so bad that I left out that like for only £3 a month, you get access to an enormous library of digital indie comics on their app, which is being updated all the time. I mean, Dan, what's on there at the moment?
Well, Tech War fans, you fill your boots, man.
All five of you. How you doing?
William Shatner's Tech War.
I read the Tech War books back in the day, and I watched the TV series.
Do you know the name of the hero of the Tech War books?
No.
Come on, mister. I've read the books.
I have. I've read.
And I watched the series.
I think there was about 4 books, and then there was 4 TV movies and a short series.
I think I tried to watch a TV film or something, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this.
It was the main character in it wasn't Shatner. He was his boss, wasn't he? It was the main character was that sort of very bland American actor who seems to be in everything.
It's not. Wasn't Lorenzo Lomas someone like that?
But somebody similar. Yeah.
Well, he was hero's name is Jake Cardigan.
I remember now because it always made me laugh that the hero's name is Cardigan.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to get up to speed on the Tech War, you can read the Tech War Chronicles on Comic House alongside a whole slew of other titles.
Can I also point out that Tech War was a Marvel comic at one point?
Oh, okay.
As well, yeah.
Let's stop being a Tech War nerd, Tony, and let Dan finish off the list.
Sorry.
We've got Tales from William F. Nolan's Dark Universe, issue 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we got The World of Aluna, issue 8.
Ah.
So there's a hell of a lot of comics.
There's loads going on at the moment I haven't heard of. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. I'm long overdue at a deep dive into like loads of like great sort of indie stuff that I've discovered. I mean, we've discovered stuff on there and then have spoken to the creators on this show.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
What's the company that make the Tech War stuff? Is it that Blue Wave? What are they called again?
What
Tidal Wave.
are they called? Yeah, Blue Water.
Blue Water. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, they've got quite a few of their titles on there now, haven't they?
Yeah. So there's quite a number of them.
So if you go to comichouse.com, you can find out about a 14-day free trial of the app. Also, if you want to get your kids into comics, there's an all ages section as well. there's comics of all genres, but if you can put safety stuff in place if you don't want your kids to read some of the filth that us hosts on this show create on a daily basis. Then there's also that as well. But definitely go to comichouse.com to find out more. And there you go. I feel proud that I finished the ad.
Yeah. I've just bloody scrolled back through a couple of pages, which I thought, I wonder what was new that week. And there's titles here that I didn't even see before.
No, right.
Power of the Valkyrie, Quartermain, presumably Alan Quartermain comics.
H. Rider Haggard. I like those books.
Julie Kalagawa's The Iron King. It's like a manga title. Oh. Nanny and Hank. What the hell is that?
That is the sound of someone discovering a comic live.
It's a photo comic, on the cover,
God.
and it's got story synopsis. Giving a whole new meaning to Walkers of the Night. Nanny and Hank think that their becoming creatures of the night was hard. None of them has faced their greatest challenge yet, their grandchildren. The horror with heart continues in this 4-issue miniseries from Ain't It Cool News' Miller, Mark L.
That sounds mental.
I'll put the
we'll need to read it.
Chat, and we can report back on that one next week.
Yeah. No, don't make promises, Dan. You should never make promises on
It did take me a couple of weeks, but I did read that comic. The shitty stories, and
that's all right. I'd look at that. That's a good drawn comic. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
he does well for us. He messaged me saying, "Oh, thanks for all the shout outs." He's just had another one there. That's good.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Thank you to all our listeners, whether current or new. We really appreciate it as always. And yes, should we just jump?
I just looked at the cover for that.
I told you.
What?
Don't right. Okay, everyone, go to comichouse.com and look up this
Nanny and Hank.
What's it called?
Nanny, as in your nan, Nanny and Hank.
It's like they've nicked an old renewed their vows picture of someone's shelf and stuck it on there as the cover. Yeah. That's genius. I want that suit, that white suit he's got on. That looks all right.
I want that chiffon sort of dress the lady's wearing.
Probably would. Do you know what I mean?
If only we could recreate that photo somehow.
Good. Nanny and Hank, sponsored by Nanny and Hank.
Yeah, Nanny and Hank. Oh God!
I'm fucking looking that up after we finish the show.
Oh, brilliant! But well, actually, you might as well do that now. And while Dan's looking that up, you might as well listen to this wonderful interview that we just had.
Did you do the advert? I'm just checking before we finish.
I did all of the ad.
Well done, you.
Don't be cheeky, Tony, or I'll edit you out.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Get cancelled.
It's only a matter of time. But yes, no, in all seriousness, check out this great interview with Patrick Sparrow, who is a creator that you're definitely going to want to follow.
Yep.
So and be prepared, because we all go a bit mad, don't we?
Get a bit carried away.
Get a little bit carried away. And why not? Because that's what comics does to you. Right, check out the interview now. And Dan, get on Nanny and Hank now.
Get on Nanny.
Right, this week we are very pleased to be joined by the mind behind such titles as, and get this, Zombra, Dirt Baby and Bone Cat, and
Dirt Baby,
and Tales of already that's a favourite, and Tales of the Peeper Creeper. Welcome to the show, Patrick Sparrow. Hello, sir.
Hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, that some of those titles are certainly titles. Some of them not so good. Some of them maybe good. I don't know. I'm sure I'll think that they all suck.
I like the fact we've had the most impolite conversation for the last 5 minutes. And then we've all gone polite, haven't we?
We always do. Yeah. You know, we put the game faces on, just like the guests do.
And like Downton Abbey here, Patrick. That's what it's like in England.
Oh, God. Please.
I'm just going to start dropping the C word left, right, and center. Just going to walk back to what you just said. Although, you guys let that flow like water down there, don't you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, not on this show.
Not on this show.
Not on this
I used to date a British girl, and that would totally throw me for a loop every time she would sprinkle that into casual conversation, which she did quite frequently. I never quite got used to it, because there's very few words that are like actually going to offend me.
But whereabouts, just as an aside, whereabouts in England was she from?
Northamptonshire.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I was going to say if it was Liverpool or something like that, it's quite common.
Oh, well, that's because you like to alienate a section of England or Great Britain every week, don't you, Tony?
Yes.
But Patrick, you are joining us from Canada.
Yeah, the Great White North. Bastard son, basically, is how I look at Canada.
And you're about an hour and a half out. I've heard you say an hour and a half outside of, is it Toronto? It
is Toronto. This is the funny thing about when people ask me where I'm from. I usually just say Toronto as a blanket statement because no one who knows anything about Canada is going to know where Cambridge, Ontario is. So I just say, Toronto, because most people really don't care that much. So, Toronto.
I once bought something in a shop in New York, and they said, where are you from? And I said, London. And they went, what, London, Canada? I wasn't, don't be ridiculous.
Were they trying to be funny? Because it's really funny if that was the intention.
Yeah, I don't think so. I didn't catch if they were. But yeah, I just pretended they were being racist.
That's weird, man. I remember when I was a kid, there were kids in our class that would I'd ask them what they did over the weekend, and they'd be like, I went to London. And I'm like, wow, you flew to London? That's insane. Not realizing that there was a London, Ontario, an hour away, because how would I know or possibly give a shit?
You were just out killing wolverines, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Killing wolverines. No, I was just out killing bags of Doritos 3D. That's.
Oh my god!
Did you guys ever get those there?
Yeah.
Yeah, for a brief moment. What was 3D about them? I wasn't aware Doritos were ever 2-dimensional.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about it. So, and it's funny because they came back this year. So it's been a bad time for a lot of things, including snacks.
Just in time for us all sitting on our asses all the time. Yeah,
basically. But I remember the first time around, it was sort of it was literally just like a puffed corn chip type thing, and it did taste like Doritos. And a lot of people were like, "This is bullshit. It's just like a bag of air," which most chips are already.
Yeah.
So it's more air. But this time around, when they redid them, it had kind of more the consistency of. You guys have Bugles down there?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Kind of just like a Bugle, which it sucked. So
yeah, Bugles are a strange texture to have in your mouth. And yes, people, I did just say that sentence.
You keep doing this, and I haven't got my recorder on. Just tell me next time.
You've lost so many minutes of comedic gold.
Now, Bugle, Chris. Oh yeah, I know the ones.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we're not ones to stereotype, but obviously Canadians, they have a reputation of being super nice people. Obviously, Patrick, you're a super nice guy.
False. All wrong. All right now.
Well,
have you seen these comics?
Yeah, underneath that super nice sort of visage that you put on, you create comics that are very unique, dark, hilarious, and I don't know how to describe them, but
twisted. I think we said twisted earlier, didn't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Men without gonads. They've got no balls, Patrick.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, man. It's all just for the sake of trying to get a laugh, man. And you say that thing about Canadians being nice. I'll say we're just the most passive-aggressive country if there is going to be one. So, I think that's more apropos.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely try to get things out there with a bit of I guess just sick and twisted sense of humor is just what I have personally.
There's a definite edge.
Peeper Creeper.
Yeah.
Edge. That's me, Edgelord 2000.
No, I'm not going to paint you as an edgelord. But okay, let's take your origin story then. How did you start into comics to where you are now? What was your comics journey like?
So when I was a little kid, I used to really like drawing comics, and it was so dumb, but one of the first things I did when I was a little kid, you guys have Beanie Babies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had
not personally.
Babies. So, okay, well, you know the concept of Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
And I was of the age where, they were, prime time, awesome, fun thing to have. But I would always draw these weird comics about Beanie Babies swearing and fucking and doing weird things that were very inappropriate for Beanie Babies.
Because I may be the best origin story we've had so far, Vince. Normally it's I read the Beano and the Dandy.
Yeah, well, this is you asked the question. This is what's happening.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Bought the ticket, now let's take the ride, baby. But that's kind of the first things that I did. And then my aunt would find them and yell at me and tear them up, and then it wouldn't go over very well. But I just remember thinking it was so funny because it wasn't supposed to be funny. And from then, I kind of, I don't know, got to an age where it's like, oh, what could I do with art? I really like drawing. Oh, maybe I can make comics. I know that there are people that make comics, but I don't know. It was something that was really far outside of my wheelhouse, and whenever I brought it up to any sort of adult, they were just like, there's no money in that. Don't waste your time. And it was sort of just beaten out of me for many, many years until eventually I met people in Toronto that they made their own comics. And I was like, oh, shit, so you could just like make your own comic and you don't need to get someone's permission to do it. You don't need to work for Marvel or DC to just make a comic. Yeah. And then a light bulb sort of went on. It's like, well, I could just fucking make comics. So that's kind of...
Who were those people, and round what sort of period was that?
I probably like really started drawing comics. You could say like seriously with the air quotes, probably about 10 years ago. So I would have been about like mid-ish 20s.
Okay.
My friend Jen Woodall, you guys might be familiar with her. She is a very prolific and very talented comic artist, and she's done a lot of cool stuff like Magical Beatdown and Marie Fort. I remember when she just like first started, I was like, you could just fucking do this? And then she made a bunch of friends that were doing comics, and I met them, and in all honesty, a lot of them I didn't like what they were doing. It was just like, oh shit, the fact that you could even just do this is like amazing, even though the comic definitely isn't for me. It took me a while to figure out what the comic was that was for me, because it sort of happened when I was a kid. Like, I like superhero shit, but then it sort of got old, and it sort of seemed like it was like repetitive, or like there was a certain scope of what you could do or what was allowed to be done. So that's probably why the Beanie Babies fucking was so appealing.
Yeah, is that available still? Because I'd read that.
I mean, it should be. If I could find, like I was saying, my aunt ripped them all up. So
censorship, man.
Hey, well, you know, now is the time for the reboot.
Yeah, maybe it's time to redo it. There's definitely like a lot of. I was actually looking at some of my old books the other day. I pulled out like every single book that I had a copy of that I had made, and I was like, "This is all fucking shit." But like, oh, what if I actually took the time to take some of this, like a book from 10 years ago, and retooled it and like did some new layouts and work on top of it? Like, oh, maybe one of these would be the foundation for a good new book, and I could do it again, knowing what I know now, and make it better. So I've sort of been toying with the idea of doing that. Like you said, that Zombra book, you said that title at the beginning, and I'm kind of, that book's been out of print for a couple of years now, but the people that have it claim to like it. I've been thinking about doing it.
So was that like a Mumra thing, was it, I'm guessing?
No, it's just a horror comic, and that was the name of the book that I had given it. And each issue was just going to be a new story, and it's the only thing I've ever done that wasn't humor.
Right.
So I've been sort of thinking about maybe redoing it, but injecting it with some of the humor, since that's the sort of stuff that I am better at than horror.
So how did you find that then? You know, because it seems like you're naturally inclined to do like humor stuff, but to do like a straight horror story, was that a real learning curve for you?
Yeah, it was, and you know, I think there still is a lot about it that I would have to learn, because I mean, there's things that are similar with humor and horror. Like you have to have a sense of like timing. And
that's true.
You know what I mean? Like to get the beats of like something scary, get the beats of something that's going to be funny and land and get a laugh, or you know, spooky and land and be unsettling.
There's a certain punchline sort of rhythm.
There's a rhythm to comedy, isn't there? There really is. Yeah.
There's a rhythm and a payoff, and it plays so much with misdirection. So I feel like they both have a lot of similar traits like that, but obviously a completely different feeling at the tail end. And always like I've just always loved horror. Like most of the books that I have at home are horror. And it's even just the visual aesthetic of it. So
yeah, I was thinking about timing when I was rereading your comic today, and I was thinking there is a real art to it. Say for example, a 4-panel gag strip, which is what you do quite a lot of it. For example, man meets woman, man is critical of woman walks away, woman throws sanitary towel in his face. Now there's a timing to that, isn't there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's weird to say, but it's true. And that was a funny thing to even figure out with the 4-panel formula, which is mostly where I dwell now.
Yeah.
The 4-panel formula with the beats really don't work well, I think, for something that's horror. Because you have to have more sort of like breadth.
You need a page turn, don't you, almost for that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why that Zombra book was a longer narrative, is 24 pages of one story, not just like the other books. Most of the books I have, they're like 24 pages, but it'll be a collection of strips. So yeah, that's realizing, because I remember like for years I would try to get a comic book in and done, but getting a narrative story together with the pacing and the work was crazy to me. And to do one story and one thing and draw the same characters over and over again for 24 pages in the same scenario is really daunting if you've never done comics before. And it's still daunting now, even though I have done comics.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. That's the thing. That's why I'm not an artist, because one, I can't draw, and two, that would bore me.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And like even the people that's all they do, or these long narrative stories, like it fucking bores them too. Like even the best, sure, like you're human. And I think I have I don't know, my wife is a social worker and therapist. She kind of thinks that I have a spot of ADHD, so that makes things a lot more sort of complicated with me, even though it's not diagnosed in terms of getting anything done.
The Sparrow household is beginning to make more sense to me now.
Yeah, it's weird. She's been sending me all these memes lately about ADHD, and I'm like, God damn it. It's funny, but also sad because of how true this is to my life, so...
Yeah, I keep forgetting the ones you've sent me. That sort of thing. Is that what you say to her as an ADHD joke?
Yeah, and then I'll forget to respond because I'll see a cat or something else.
So was there anyone in because I'm guessing most of your influences comes from underground, indie, small press kind of guys and girls? Is that the case, or?
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. It does come from that sort of area, which there were a couple instances sort of early on where I got exposed to that stuff just by like pure luck. I remember when I was in high school, before I really started doing comics, I had found out about American Splendor.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. And I really liked those books, and what I had seen of that, I think it was from the HBO movie, really, is where I first sort of got an inkling as to who he was and what he did.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was a teacher's aide. So I was in high school, I was working on getting a credit, and I was a teacher's aide at an elementary school. So I would spend half my day going to an elementary school and helping teach the kids and sort of corral the kids there. And one of the teachers there had a husband who was into underground comics and weird stuff. And I offhandedly mentioned the name Harvey Picar to her once. And she's like, "Oh, my husband loves him. I'll bring you in some of his books from his collection." And she brought me in a couple copies of American Splendor, like original issues, and a couple other just sort of weird comics. And I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Thank you so much. Because it was the type of thing, like, I had heard about it from that HBO movie, but like I didn't grow up in a town where there was a comic book shop or I had any titles like this readily available. Like I couldn't even buy a Marvel comic in the town where I grew up, much less a Harvey Picar book. So
what do you do? Stick them on eBay or?
Well, yeah, if you could get them on eBay at the time.
I mean, did you stick your friends' comics on eBay? That would have been the move I'd have made.
Oh yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah, like a couple moments happened where stuff like this sort of like came together and like things started clicking. Like, oh, you can do this, and oh, you don't have to do this the way that everyone else does this, and things got going.
And then, is there anyone who particularly influenced your style? Because it's quite, it's funny, but it's quite transgressive for those who haven't seen it. There's a lot of, it's quite adult, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? The front cover of Peeper Creeper is him with his guts hanging out in a sort of faux smile. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of that aesthetic, even though it's humor, it definitely comes from the horror comics that I read. Like, I definitely like old EC horror stuff, and even though it's humor, I definitely like that visual aesthetic. Also, too, like I'm not sure if you've noticed, but there's a lot of I don't know if this is a trend in just humor comics or just comics in general right now, but you see comics and they're so like comics are already sort of a shorthand for like a visual representation of a person, like if it's cartoons.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been like really dumbed down past the point of like being anything that's really cool looking or being like technically proficient. A lot of comics you see, like the average person looks at comics on Instagram, it doesn't even register to them that it's a comic. They just see it and swipe on by, and they're so like just even like meme comics and shit like that. It's very like primitive and very basic. So seeing some of these horror books that like have like amazing art and you see comics, I sort of wanted to replicate some of that, but have it in a humor format.
Okay.
And you've also got like their sort of a psychedelic sort of color palette to it that's sort of reminiscent of like some of Rob Zombie's sort of artwork.
I really do like Rob Zombie. I do like him. A lot of his stuff is sort of indicative of like, Rat Fink and Ed Roth and his sort of weird monster. So I definitely like all that stuff as well. I like hot rod culture and just weird monster nonsense. I'm a big Ed Roth fan actually, so that's funny you brought that up.
Oh, nice. Can I just ask you to run an anecdote past us? And this relates to you putting your phone number on the wall of a toilet.
Shit! You guys know about that?
Well, we were listening. I was listening to the Gutter Boys, and you mentioned it on there. And I just thought, a lot of our listeners won't listen to that podcast, but I wonder whether you might repeat it because it is pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that was fucking. I still get phone calls about that. So...
Change your number, dude.
Yeah, I really should have. But okay, so this is the thing. So I got I was doing some work for Adult Swim. They were doing web comics, so I was lucky enough to land a gig with them doing that for however long my contract period was. And one of the comics I had done took place in a men's room, and typical men's room fare, there's all the graffiti on the stalls and dick drawings and crude stick lady boobs. So I slid my number into one of the panels and just said, for a good time, call my number. And like, this was only being shared on the adultswim.com Instagram page initially, which just had like I think 100,000 followers. So it really wasn't. Yeah, and like this is the thing I've realized too about putting comics online. Like, you might get 1,000 people that see it, 500 people that actually read it, 100 people that click like, maybe 50 people that comment, and maybe 2 people that actually buy the book from all the engagements that you get. That's sort of how it boils down.
We talk quite a lot about that when you start looking at Twitter. You've done it, Dan, haven't you? You've noticed how many click-throughs there are. And...
exactly. Like, it's eyes slide onto it and they slide off quickly because that's the way that social media goes. But I thought that was how it was going to be. People would see the number and they wouldn't really think twice about it. I'll get a couple odd phone calls from a couple odd people and that'll be it. But then they shared it from that page to the Adult Swim main page, which had a couple million followers. And then I just started getting inundated with phone calls because I guess this is a thing that Adult Swim fans, I guess they think this about Adult Swim is that, they're going to hide different weird ways of having...
They've gotten in suddenly. Yeah, they've seen this number.
Yeah. They thought it was going to be like a hint at something else. So I'd get all these calls and I would just ignore them. But then from there I thought like, okay, well, I'm getting all these phone calls. I'll set up a voicemail message as myself as the Peeper Creeper thanking people for calling.
Didn't you get some pictures through? Is that
people started randomly sending like weird like amputee porn pictures to the
Oh my god.
I got inundated with, because this is the thing about Adult Swim fans I didn't realize at the time, is like a lot of them are a lot younger than I am now and they're pretty obnoxious. And a bunch of people were waiting for a new season of Rick and Morty to come out, so not knowing that I'm just like a contracted guy to Adult Swim, I don't really work there, I would get all these angry voicemails, just fucking people yelling, "You piece of shit, where's Rick and Morty season 4? I want it now," because I think they did a thing with season 3 where Dan Harmon was constantly getting harassed about when the new season was going to premiere, and they wouldn't tell anybody a date. And then he waited to get one more angry tweet about when the season was going to start so that he could respond and say, all right, you want the fucking season? Here, it's going to air now. And then it aired within the next, 5 minutes of that tweet being sent. Right. So they sort of, organized that prank and joke on that one random Twitter user because enough people were sending them tweets about when the fuck the season's going to start. Yeah, so I think people thought that I actually worked for Adult Swim, that I had something to do with anything. So I got so many calls with Rick and Morty that I fucking grew to hate Rick and Morty. And I started using the thing because I would get all these numbers, and I would just set up this automated text thing where it would just respond back and say, hey, if you're looking for a good time, send me your home address and a self-addressed step envelope, whatever it was. And people started sending me their addresses.
Oh my God.
Like, and this is the thing too. Like, I could have been fucking with them. Like, I could have been like a random maniac that just was getting their number by accident, playing along. I could have like gone to their houses and killed them. But a lot of them were just like kids, so they would send me their home addresses, and then the ones that were stupid enough to do so got rewarded because I started sending out Peeper Creeper fan club cards and stickers and like, I ever sold another book off of it, but you know, it was funny fan engagement for a while, and Adult Swim were a great platform. They really helped get my crap out there to the type of people that I feel like would actually enjoy that shit. So that's sort of how that shook out. And even though that was, I think, probably close to 2 years ago now, I guess enough people that dig through Adult Swim accounts will find the comic time to time, and I'll get phone calls, and it's always like the middle of the night. And like, I don't have the message set up anymore, but like, I'll just get a phone call from like Richmond, Virginia at like 12 o'clock before I go to bed, and I'll just answer it, and I'll just talk to the guy and be like, hey man, what do you need? And he'll be like, I called for a good time. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. Well, so what do you want to talk about? What's the like, you do anything cool today, or are you up to a new season of Hard, or? And then people usually get like freaked out and they just hang up right away. A couple people are like, "Oh, I want to fucking come," and I'm like, "That's that."
I'm sorry about that call.
But it happens. Yeah. It's like, you should look into I don't know. I know those love dolls are probably beyond your means, but maybe there's inflatable ones on Amazon for a more worthwhile price range for whoever it is calling. So I don't know.
I did a similar thing for a comic back in the early 2000s, just when sort of burner phones came out over here. Me and a mate, Ed Triquino, we did like, I don't know if you have them in Canada, but you get in London, you get these cards in phone boxes with a sort of sexy lady and a phone number, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
mostly, I think they're just used for people to put in their mate's pocket when they're pissed, so their wife finds it. You know, it's a funny joke. Yeah. So we did a drawing of this character in our comic and said, you know, for a good time, ring this number. And we put them in the phone boxes in Bristol, where the convention was, and we didn't get that many. We got a few sort of silent phone calls, you know,
heavy breathing late at night.
Yeah, just sort of rang it and like just didn't say anything, just to wait to hear the voice. And I would never say anything. I'd just sort of sit there, listen.
Well, you know, comic fans are nervous, aren't they? You know.
Yeah.
That's true. They're a nervous bunch. That's why you got to go out of your way to engage. You got to bring them out of their shell. That's why you got to say the weird shit first.
Yeah.
Superstitious, cowardly lot.
Yeah. Sex lines for everyone. That's what
they're
we're
all right
saying.
on Twitter. They go mad for it on Twitter, but when you see them face to face, it's a different story. Yeah.
Oh, completely. Most people are like that. Comic fans are not.
But what you said there about like Adult Swim and engaging with the sort of audience that your work is, do you think that's quite an important thing for creators to do? Is, you know, especially if someone has, you know, their own style or their own unique way of like storytelling, like finding other avenues that have that sort of same audience, you know, rather than, because sometimes there are a lot of creators, and you may be listening now, who you know, you're doing this weird esoteric work, or you're thinking, oh, that, you know, no one's going to like my comic book when I'm surrounded by Marvel and DC. Whereas you should probably, there are people out there doing the same sort of comics that might appeal. Do you think it's good for people to seek out other places like that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, at the end of the day, whether someone makes something, like, I've made books that I'm not particularly proud of, but this is the thing. I made the book and now it's done. Yeah. So whether I like it or not, I still have to put it in front of somebody because I need to validate what I did with my time and justify it and justify my fucking existence as an artist. So people need to see it. Otherwise, what are you doing it for? I mean, maybe that's like an egocentric way of doing things. But yeah, it's absolutely important to find your audience. And yeah, if there's other things that are kind of similar to what you do that you can glean from, by all means, figure it out and go there. You got to get your shit in front of people, and you got to take
a hell of a table pitch as well. When someone comes up to your table and you go, "What's this comic about?" It's about legitimizing my fucking existence.
That's exactly it, though. That's exactly it. Yeah. And I will totally tell people that, like, this is validating my existence as an artist. Thanks for buying the book. I appreciate it. And people are like, you're welcome. And I'm like,
I like to point down the row of tables and say, that dude down there, he's had the same book on his table for 3 years running. Ain't done nothing new. Look at this, new. That's one of my favourite ones.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to rotate the crops, man. You got to do new shit. And that's the whole thing with me talking to you guys about getting on the podcast is like, wherever I can go where there might be people that are interested in reading, I want to go there. And I've done plenty of weird shit to try to get people interested. Another thing that I was doing is I was having people on social media renounce religion so that they would get it's just like I would have these weird like Peeper Creeper dressed as Jesus images that I would share, and I was like, if you want to join our cult, which was just like me handing out more Peeper Creeper fan club cards and stickers the same way as I did with Adult Swim. All you have to do is reshare this, renounce God and heaven for all eternity, like you sold me into Peeper Creeper, and I will send you a sticker. And it was as easy as that. And people will be like, oh, fucking, I'll do this. And then you get someone's email address and their mailing address, and it's worth it to have next time you do something to try to have them know about it. And
mate, it's a good shout. The old Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens crowd. That's a big crowd, man. Yeah, start selling them comics, you do all right.
Yeah, exactly right, man. There's plenty of people that might not even read comics that don't know about your comic, and it makes sense, but doesn't mean that they wouldn't enjoy it if they found it. So it's good.
I mean, the way I discovered you was sort of a sideways into your work, and that was because I read Cosmic Surfer, which is in no way at all associated with the Silver Surfer. I'd like to point that out for purposes on this podcast.
100% correct, yes.
Yes, and I love the fact that in it, the Cosmic Surfer, it does things like he fucks a plant, and he wakes up on Galactus's ball bag.
Yeah, because, you got a lot of time to kill in the day. You're a superhero, so obviously you get up to other shit.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you had his powers and what you would do.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't be, like, saving planet X, Y, and Z all the time.
Yeah, you'd be picking a plant up that looks a bit like a vagina and saying,
exactly,
can I eat this or can I fuck it?
You tell me at the same time, superpower at the same time that you lose all lust in your heart for fucking random plants and inanimate objects. I don't believe that 1 second.
Exactly.
That's like this whole. Yeah. You guys probably heard about this whole heroes don't eat pussy thing with Batman.
Yeah.
That's why that's absolutely ludicrous. If like these are supposed to be characters that are in any way identifiable as human or something close, then of course they're going to do things like eat pussy or have a good time outside of saving the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly, and he'd probably be the best at it too, with all the
Oh well, according to DC, Batman can do anything. He can do anything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did Cosmic Surfer come about, Patrick? Was it?
I think I was talking to whoever I was talking to, and I think I touched on this sentiment earlier. It's like what we're doing isn't going to be in a Marvel or DC book, but like, wouldn't it be fun to play in that sandbox? With those characters? It's like, well, fuck it, why don't we just do it anyways? And I'm not the first person to do it. There's other superhero parody books out there. Like Twilight of the Bat is a really good one. It's a play on the Dark Knight books. I can't remember the author's name.
Yeah, I've just read a Batman one, and I can't think. It comes out of Stranger's Distro. They do one that's a Batman one.
Yeah. There's a ton of Batman. I mean, obviously, the more popular the character is, the more of them that they're going to be. But I just thought it would be fun. Like, okay, well, let's just do our own book with those characters anyways and just fuck around and have fun. And it was one of those things where I was going to do it all on my own, and I got 16 pages into it, which is like halfway through a book, and I'm like, I don't want to finish this because it was one continual narrative like I'm not really so talented at doing. But luckily my friend Nate McDonough, who's a very prolific comic writer and artist, he picked up the rest of the book with the story beats that I had laid out. And he finished it and really put his own unique spin on the rest of the story that I had laid out. And I was really happy he did, because I feel like he made that book a lot better. So eventually we'll do an issue 2. It might take a while, but that's the other good thing about not having to work for Marvel or DC. If you do books, you just do books when you feel like doing books.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I wanted to ask you, and we were chatting a bit about before we started chatting to you tonight, dude, is the rise of the new underground we're seeing at the moment with people like Strangers and Bubbles and yourself and stuff that we're doing over here as well. Do you think that's a reaction to the banality of the mainstream, and also somehow the banality of this sort of graphic novel, shitty, boring, softy kind of culture we've developed? Do you think, or?
I think it's something that's been like a continual reaction to mainstream comics ever since like the underground stuff kicked off in like the 60s and 70s. Like, underground and indie comics have never gone away. It's just like had different surges of popularity, or absences of any sort of popularity at all. But people still make shit because people are creative and need to make shit. It's definitely a reaction to that and a commentary on that, and that is always going to be there, sort of as that underbelly and that, other side of the coin to the big, clean, sanitized companies like Marvel and DC. And it's so weird too. People say like Marvel and DC was like, oh, I read independent comics like Dark Horse and Vertigo. I'm like, God damn it, no, you don't.
IDW or something.
IDW, as if IDW or Boom or independent comics. But I'm not going to get into. I don't want to get into slanderous territory because I appreciate what a lot of those companies do at the end of the day. This is me trying to get a job.
What's happened? Who's this on the line? I don't know who's this on here.
But this is the thing. Like, I'm not. I still read a lot of their books. I still like a lot of what they do, but it's just there's so much more. It's just like, this is the same shit you've already done. Is this worth doing? Why bother? The same titles and the same characters over and over again. If I ever got a job,
for me, there's nobody out there. For a while, I got really bored with it because there was no one taking any chances. And then we saw stuff like you, and even people like Jasper, Jubaville, and this sort of thing. That
guy.
How old is he? He's about 12.
Dude. I think he might be even 11. I've talked to him, and he's Canadian too.
Okay.
I think he's out in Vancouver. You guys should have him on the show because that guy, there's something about him, and I've told him this to his face, and I don't think he believes me. Maybe it's false modesty, but that guy is totally going to be a next, whatever the fuck big independent comic book artist you could think of is, like the next Charles Forsman, you could say Harvey Pekar, Bob Crumb, whatever, the next guy from the underground that's on the way up. Because that guy is so prolific with all the stuff that he makes and puts out there, and he's so young. He's so young to have.
I was really surprised because he's got this sort of twisted Chester Gould aesthetic to his work, and I'm thinking, how does he know that?
Because what, like early 20s kid, and this is the thing, he's been on this kick for a lot longer than just the last year, being in his fucking early 20s. But what kid has been on that for so long that he's been able to like duplicate, manipulate, and create his own style from that's completely organic and looks as good as what he does. So that guy, if that guy wants to own the world of comics, I firmly believe that guy could totally own the world of comics. As if I had started doing what he was doing at the age that he was doing it, maybe I could too, but I'm too fucking old now, and I started too late because I was thinking, people can't make comics, I'm not going to work for Marvel or DC, until I was fucking clever enough in my mid-20s to figure out you could just do it yourself. Which still, doesn't mean anything.
That's how I discovered your book, Pat, is that I think Instagram is almost like the least toxic place at the moment, and I sort of, because I'm in the sort of, me and Adam are in the stable with strangers, and we sort of stretch out, across the Ben Maras of this world, and, the Gutter Boys and all these sort of guys and girls, we reach almost an area of comics that isn't seen by the mainstream, and that's how I discovered stuff like your work.
Yeah, and it's so fun when you do discover new stuff that's like, the style speaks to me, or whatever this is. Like, it's like a bolt of lightning because it's not as readily available in every comic shop like all that Marvel and DC stuff. Like, even in my neighborhood shop, like, they know me by now. I am lucky enough to live in an area where I do have a comic book store, and every once in a while they'll bring in things that like, maybe he would buy this weirdo title, and if I see a title that I know he's brought in for me, I will buy it just because I feel sort of like bad that this isn't going to move otherwise. But you're not going to find stuff for the most part in most mainstream comic outlets. So when you see something that speaks to you on an individual level, on an independent level, it really is important.
Do you reach out to shops? Do you reach out to shops with your books at all? Because I know I shop at Gosh in London, and I don't know if you've heard of that. They're big supporters of the small press and stuff, and they stock, for example, Bubbles is in there. Or you can buy all the issues of Bubbles in there and stuff like that. Is that something you've tried? Or?
It's something that I used to do a lot more when I was younger. I would like go around, I would make, a day of it and go around to every comic book shop in an area code, and I would bring copies of a book and like, hey, can you stock this? And I'll charge you X for Y and whatever. Yeah. But it just got to be too much of a pain in the ass because like, I'd have to drive back to shops to get paid or back to shops to pick up the books that didn't sell. And, real estate is really important in any shop, so you want to make sure that it moves. And that's what I do too. Like, I don't like, I don't canvas shops to buy books, wholesale or not, anymore. But if a place comes to me and they're like, oh, can we buy like 20 copies of a title? I will send you, cards on top of that, stickers on top of that. If you want to give out a couple sketches, like whatever I could do to get people to move the books, whether it's in my store or your store, I want it to get into the hands of people ultimately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to fuck with that. I don't really bother with it now unless a shop contacts me. I do have a book coming out eventually that will have distribution through Diamond. So I don't know how the fuck that's going to work, but that will have potential to be seen by a lot more people if I play my cards right. So I'm trying to figure out how I can do that.
Did you want to talk a bit about that, dude, or do you want to mention it, or?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working on, like what we were talking about with the underbelly of superhero bullshit. I've been doing my own superhero book for the last year and a half.
Oh dear.
It's like sort of a parody, sort of a play on superhero nonsense, which, yeah, it's already out there and people do that. But hey, here's my fucking version of it anyways, because as if you couldn't take enough superhero bullshit, whether it's meant to be bullshit or not, here's some more. And you'll take it and you'll fucking like it too. But it's a book called Comrade Kill. It'll be out in October
cool.
through Madhouse, who do like a plethora of amazing titles with amazing artists.
They're good company, aren't they? Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, the book is almost done now. Issue 1, it's going to be 64 pages. It'll be like $15 when it's available. And I'm just trying to figure out a game plan to make sure that as many shops as I can get to order it will order it and do incentive stuff. Like, if a shop wants to order, like I was saying, like if a shop wants to order 10 copies, I'll send you a sketch card. If you want to order 100, I'll send you 10. Because, with the opportunity to have distribution through Diamond, which is something that hasn't ever been afforded to me before.
Nice, man. Yeah.
I want to try to take advantage of that in any small, meager way that I can. So, and that's the other thing too. Like, I'm going to try to organize a bit of a quote-unquote book tour because, with October dropping and COVID numbers dropping as well, I'm hoping I can actually get in front of people to try to sell the book and, get a reaction to it. Because, like, you can post stuff all day on Instagram, and that's great, and you might get some good sales out of it, but there's no substitution for actually getting out there and engaging with people face to face. Which is why I love cons.
Are you feeling the pressure around that a bit, Patrick? Because, I mean, I feel sometimes I put such fucking demented shit in my comics with Adam that sometimes I look at the list of people who back it and I think, oh, Christ, they're not going to understand it, are they? What are we going to do? Do you know what I mean? And when you're putting it out in Diamond and you're putting it out on such a bigger scale, are you a bit nervous about the reaction, possibly, or?
Who gives a shit? If it goes well or goes bad, it's just going to be this one and then on to the next one, which is sort of how I look at it. Like, hopefully people get it and they read it and it goes well. Hope they'll get the chance to do more books. But, ultimately, this is the sort of, motto that I like to live by is, hope for the best but prepare for the worst. So if it totally tanks and I got a publisher that's sitting on top of thousands of unsold copies, then, okay, well, I can at least rest assured that I did my best with the book to make it my best with the book to get it out there. So
and that's half the deal these days. I mean, I work for a comic company as well, and half of it is the actual artist getting behind the book. Never mind the company. You got to do it, man.
Which is fucking crazy. I don't understand. I've seen this with people too before. They get into any sort of art form where there's a person backing them. Like, if you got signed to a record deal when you're a band or whatever it is, it doesn't mean that you get to rest on your laurels and just focus on the creative. Obviously the creative is the bulk of it, but you need to be a salesperson too to get out there and push your shit in order to, make sure that you get to keep doing your shit. It's a total privilege to be able to do this stuff, and you want to sustain that for as long as you can. So you need to sell your shit. You need to, and that's the other thing too, is you need to sell yourself. It's not just people buying your book and that's it. You are a reflection of the work. The work is a reflection of you. My work is utterly fucked up, but I'll take that all day long.
Listen, I've heard you self-deprecate on another podcast, and they did it on here. The thing is, your comics are demented. You're not a demented dude. I've looked at your Instagram. There's loads of pictures of people getting bummed, and then there's also a picture of you. There's also a picture of you feeding goats with your daughter. Do you know what I mean? There's two sides to Mr. Sparrow. I'm saying
every point, and that's the other thing too. When I got that bump in readership from Adult Swim fans, I realized that the bulk of their viewership is, young kids that live at home. They don't really necessarily have the cash to spend on comics, which is fine. But I would get a lot of really like immature knee-jerk reactions to stuff. Like I would get messages from people being like, "Whoa, man, how high were you when you made this?" and blah blah blah. Of what you're smoking and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I know that this is an absurd, silly comic, but if you look beyond the humor and the punchline of these 4 panels, this is like 12 hours work that went into this in between juggling a day job and a baby. So if you're sort of able to look behind the lens a little bit, you'll figure out like, yeah, the demented stuff is a part of it, but there's also a work ethic that's there. And it's not just like, it drives me nuts when people like look at art. Like it happens a lot with the Adult Swim stuff too. And they see like, oh man, this is written by someone who clearly didn't have to really try to write anything. This was just all a bunch of random stuff that people made. It's like even stuff that's random stuff that people made, if you have any random dumb shit idea, like anyone can have an idea, but to have the work ethic to figure out a way to execute that idea and then get it in front of people, like that's a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
it is. It is. The thing is, can I also say that I go on the record regularly that I hate cosplayers. I fucking despise them. But the one cosplayer I would love to see is the Peeper Creeper cosplayer. I think you get that walking through, your MCMs or your Read Pop conventions. There's a few kids who'd probably be sick on their parents if they saw that.
I would love to see that too. I imagine it would be someone that would have to stitch together a bunch of pieces of beef jerky to make the suit, or something like that. I don't know.
For those who don't know, this is the perfect time. What is the Peeper Creeper?
Damned if I know. He just sort of materialized one day. So like I couldn't tell you what the origin. People ask me that all the time. Like, is he human? Like, where is he from? What's his like origin story? I don't think he particularly has an origin story. He just sort of showed up one day, and ever since he showed up, I haven't really been able to get him to leave. And I don't know where he goes when he's not here. I don't even know why he comes here, but he does. And I feel like I don't know if it's like a thing where it's just like, maybe this like sort of justifies it in my mind. This is my way of coping with his existence, but I kind of feel like it might just be like a watcher in the woods type scenario. Like he's out there just because someone has to be looking in on the absurdity of life. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So
the way I see him is he's sort of like a sort of mischief demon, but not in your sort of Loki way. More in his like a skinned human with no ball bag who goes around just doing ridiculous things,
Yeah, I could definitely see that, I feel like that's a pretty apropos description. I definitely like the Loki comparison. Definitely nothing. And people like
it'd be a much better series if this was Loki.
God,
yeah. And certainly not nefarious. Like and that's the other thing too. Like I've done other weird versions of the Peeper Creeper. There's one called Stalker Gawker who is the Peeper Creeper, but he is nefarious. Right. So. Yeah, there's other versions of that you can have fun with, but him, I think he's a mostly good entity. At least I hope he is. So, yeah, I couldn't tell you where the fuck he came from. It's bizarre to me.
He seems to be, rather than being nefarious, he's always well-meaning, and he asks some important questions about life. And the comic shows the answers, which means you won't be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
Yeah.
I like the homage to Johnny Ryan as well. You got a Prison Planet homage in here as well, haven't you? The adventures of the erotic adventures of I can't read it under the lamp.
Oh,
you got that.
Yeah, that fucking thing. The cum vampire. Yeah. So at the back of every Peeper Creeper comic, there's always a few like sort of one-off comics, and that was one of them. I don't know where the fuck that one came from either. I think I got hung up on the idea of like, oh, what if it was a vampire, but like instead of drinking blood, he drinks cum. Like, you know what I was saying? Like, anyone can have an idea, but then you got to put in the fucking work to actually execute it. Yeah. That was one of those where it was just like, here's an idea, but this probably isn't worth executing. But then I think that was like one of the harder comics to draw too, because it had certainly more panels than most of them. and a lot more background detail than most of them, with a whole grave robbing scene.
I think it's great. I just did a comic where 2 demons have tried to steal a god's semen, and they don't make it back to because they drink it because it tasted so good.
It's a slice of life tale.
Yeah.
Two demons, and it's the whole joke is that they're semen demons or what?
Yeah. Well, no, they've been sent to get Hercules' ejaculate so they can give it to
why
someone.
are they not called semen demons?
That is a good idea. It might be the sequel. Yeah. Speaking back to Pat's comics, also a favourite of ours was Muscle Wizard.
Oh, thanks, man. I have a lot of fun with him.
Dan particularly liked that.
Yeah, fucking absolutely killed me. I laughed so much at that.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that like every representation of wizards you see, they're always like gaunt old men that are spindly when like they have like the magic to be able to do whatever. And you can transform into a dragon. Why wouldn't you take the form of like a giant buff bodybuilder? So
yeah.
Did you want to? So in that story, he puts some coal up his bum as a magic trick, and he says, "Look, I'm going to look at this trick," and then he sort of strains, and then he reaches up his bum and pulls something out that just looks like a sort of longish turd, and then he breaks it open, and inside's a diamond. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing about it. Was it even because he's a wizard? Was that magic, or was it just that the sheer strength of his buttocks? I couldn't even.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying about art is that it works on a couple different levels, man. You know, like, do you even get it? And if you say you do you even really? And what is it if you get it? And do I? I do not know.
That's a defense I use a lot when people go, "Your comics are disgusting." I go, "You clearly don't understand the levels, my friend."
You just don't get art, man.
Yeah. Have you ever
a fun, dumb response?
Have you ever thought of an idea, worked up like the one page, you've got everything down, and you finish drawing it, and then you look at it and think, I can't put that out in the world.
I have.
So I've done that a few times, but it's never been, I can't put this out into the world because this is too much or this is too insensitive. That's never been the reason why I wouldn't put something out. The reason why I wouldn't put something out is this just isn't good enough. And I've got dozens of pages of stuff that people haven't seen and won't see because this isn't good enough, or the world doesn't
maybe. Yeah.
And it's not because, it's not funny or it's too insulting or too, obscene. It's just because this could be better, so I'll just shelve this for another day. I don't think that something being too much should be a motivating factor for keeping the shackles on anything that it does.
I think there's also a certain there's definitely an ethic and a power to that, and because we're certainly with social media and Instagram and everything, there is a real inkling to, as soon as you've done something, post it out for everyone to see. It's having that choice of what from a personal perspective, what you want people to see and what the quality of your work. Whereas I think some people, you can see from their their social media feeds and stuff, it's not always the best that they could do. I say that from a personal perspective as well. I've certainly posted up stuff that afterwards just thought, I shouldn't have.
I've done that too after the fact, where it's okay, I shouldn't have posted this because I could have done better, but it's already out there. I think this weird constant need for validation and need for content and to produce content that artists have that keeps people.
It's a weird one, isn't it? We live in a world where you've got to have a sort of constant presence, to be valid, and then the best comic of the year turns out to be from a bloke who's been working on it for 30 years, and we haven't seen hiding a hair off for about 10 years. It's a weird world,
Or the guy who's working on it for fucking 30 seconds. It goes both ways. It's so weird. Man, I just had a total thought derailment right now.
Well, go on Reddit and look at some of the comics on there, and then see it's got thousands of upvotes. And I was like, well, wait, there's no craft in this. I don't know how this got to this. There's no joke in it. I don't understand. And
it's just a collection of fucking random words. But then also, this might actually just be me getting too old, and maybe I don't get it, man. I don't get art.
It's like Grandpa Simpson meme.
Someone blew my mind the other day. I remember this is a thing that happened to me probably a year or two ago. I was following this illustrator that I really liked his artwork, and he wouldn't do like too many comics, but he was just like a good illustrator, and every once in a while he'd just do like a one panel thing that was just like, it was funny because he drew it funny. It wasn't like, a joke or anything. It had a good visual style. And I was following this guy, and I can't remember his name, otherwise I would say it, give him a plug, but I stopped following him because he would just post memes constantly, whether it was memes that he made or memes that someone else made. And you unfollow someone, you don't really think twice about it too often. Yeah. It's just like, here's your shit in my feed, and now it's gone. But I guess he noticed, which always baffles me how people would ever notice that you've unfollowed them. And he sent me a message saying, "Thanks for the unfollow, man." Like, this is some passive-aggressive Canadian bullshit. Like, because he was Canadian too. And I just simply said, like, I could have been like, how the fuck did you even notice that? What a lowlife. Come on. But I just said, hey, man, nothing personal. I just like seeing your artwork more than I like seeing the memes constantly. So, and nothing against the memes. But what he said was, I don't even post memes that much. And then I guess he must have looked at his feed, because he messaged me again 5 minutes later and said, whatever, man, memes are art, which... It took me a long time to wrap my head around, but I think that fucker might actually be right.
Yeah.
Like, and it's weird when you say, like, you talk about the craft that goes into like a joke or an image or whatever it is, but fuck, like, whether it's a ton.
Don't tell me that's how far we've fallen, Pat.
But we have, in a certain way. I mean, because I mean, whether it's made out of someone's, just a, I don't know, one panel from a comic or a scene from a movie or someone, or all these memes. Every single one of us has used a meme in some it's become that, hasn't it? And
yeah,
I don't want to say valid art form, but I think it is.
Yeah, I have to say I very rarely use them. I try not to, but I did post one in my Instagram the other day. It was a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the proper one, and it's "Where's Luke Skywalker?" and it's Obi-Wan Kenobi saying, "Up your mum's bum."
That's a good one.
That's my favourite one ever.
Why was that the one that had to be shared?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's the one that broke you. That you had to share. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna stand up for these fucking memes, but I'll share this one.
Listen, I like pictures of my dog and comics. I'm putting this up.
That the Padme Amidala one and the Anakin Skywalker one, I got fucking all the time in the world from that. Just seems to keep reinventing itself.
Yeah, really enjoyed that one, and I think like what that guy said about how the whole memes are art thing. Like, I don't even know whether that guy meant it or was just a knee-jerk reaction because I unfollowed his shit. But like, I found a couple people that actually make memes where it's just like, okay, this guy has something to say and he's doing a really good job of illustrating it, and it's not just, hey, aren't shit's funny. Like, do you guys follow this guy named Teenage Stepdad?
No.
You should take a minute and look at the bullshit that guy posts, because he makes a lot of weird nonsense out of remixing other people's images and stuff, but like, he's got a very clear intent behind it, and he's actually like been a big proponent for make your own stuff, whether it's memes or this, that, or the other, that you should, if you have any sort of amount of creativity, that you should use whatever is at your disposal, like your phone, to make something. Like, the things that you consume media on can be a tool to create media and comment on other media, or just call out that it's bullshit. Like, you could write a post and say that something's bullshit, but if you have the creative bone in your body to be able to make a meme even, or a drawing to illustrate that, wouldn't that be so much more potent, or so much more?
In a way, they're the new political cartoons, aren't they? When you think about it,
they totally are. Which it took me so long to really like come around to that. And I think a lot of people don't want to come around to that or acknowledge that, because they don't think that it takes as much effort as what you or I would do with the whole comic panel sequence. Yeah. But
so I think while we've been talking,
the goes into them, there is effort that goes into them.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, while I've been talking, I've been sent two.
Yeah,
and one is a picture of a woman, like a zombie-faced woman, and it says "The Ladybird Book of Challenging Wanks," and my mate sent it to me along with the line that said, "Is this Tony's new book?" Right? So okay, that's funny.
That's a good punch up.
Yeah, that one. And then the other one is we've had a bit of a political scandal over here. You may not be aware of, Pat, but there's one of our main politicians who's been caught canoodling, and there's a video of him being rather embarrassingly sort of salacious kissing this lady he's having an affair with. And I got her name is Gina.
Who even gives a shit?
I know. And
the Prime Minister of our country got caught doing blackface.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Oh, and in this meme, it says, in fairness, Gina's legs were 2 meters apart. And I thought, well, that's okay. That's it.
Fucking hell.
Why did you say that when I took a drink, Tony? Why?
The lady he was having an affair with, I think that was her name. Yeah. To be fair, I didn't think he had it in him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So well done.
No, not well done. We are not condoning that.
People, how many people look at my shit and be like, "That's not fucking well done. That's not comics. That's not art."
They're going to be out there.
And it doesn't mean that it's true. Yeah. It just means that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Half the time, I fucking agree with your opinion and think you're right. But then the other half of the time, I gotta kind of acknowledge some of the shit that people are putting out there because some of it's valid, some of it's complete nut trash.
I mean, it's the people who are taking chances. I have no problem with at all. I like people. No, even if their art maybe a bit, could improve. If they're taking a chance and putting stuff out, it's all this safe stuff, man, that I can't stand. People talking to their dog or something, or thinking about clouds. Fuck you.
Times 10, any meme you see isn't something safe or sanitary. It's something fucking weird and absurd and stupid. Which, there's a lot of power in stupidity, which I think a lot of people don't realize. People talk about being stupid like it's a bad thing all the time. Like there's certain types of stupid that maybe there are, but being stupid can kind of be, I guess, a little bit freeing a little bit. Like, you ever hear the weird
we've managed 313 episodes.
That's how we've gone with it.
Exactly. But still, too, behind the scenes, it's a lot of work to, get the stuff on the feed and, to commit to something for hundreds of episodes is like
6 years now. Yeah. Don't be like that.
But all the that drives you forward and gets you to where you are right now, you use the platform to make the dick and fart jokes and do whatever dumb shit you're going to do in that hour because you can and it's liberating and you need to.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Hats off to you. It's all valid.
Yeah. Thank you, man. So sort of segueing a bit more into your work, dude, I take it, are you part of the sort of con scene over there? You a TCAF, attendee and all that sort of thing?
A little bit. So obviously COVID put a huge damper on that. I haven't been to a con in a couple of years now. The other thing too is I was getting going and I've been getting more traction in comics over the last couple of years and trying to capitalize on that, trying to get in front of people as much as I can. I started doing conventions in the States and trying to get
what ones have you done and have they been good or not? Or
they've all been pretty good, man. The only one that's been bad is just that one that I went to in Hamilton, and luckily it was only like an hour away from my house. But the only reason why that one was bad is just because, are you guys familiar with the concept of noise music?
No.
Okay. That? Well, basically what it is, it's a guy playing a fucking keyboard through a bunch of distorted effects pedals for 4 hours that all just ends up sounding like static and white noise. People make the argument that it's music the way that you'd make the argument that memes aren't art.
It's like Metal Machine music by Lou Reed, that sort of thing, you mean?
Yeah, but like way worse.
Oh, right, okay.
So that's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. But that was the only con I ever went to where it was bad. Is just some experimental noise artist in the corner playing loud noise music for 4 hours, and I just had a terrible headache. But fuck, that was bad. But I still got to get out and see people, which I always appreciate doing. But yeah, I've been trying to get more into the con stuff. Obviously, COVID fucked that up. It's really important to get in front of people. It was a weird thing too. Like I had a daughter 2 years ago, so that sort of put me out of things for a little bit. TCAF was a weird thing for me because, like, if I go to a convention, like, it's very seldom that I go to a convention and there's ever another artist tabling with stuff that I could easily pick out and identify with and say, like, oh, that's the guy that makes the shit that I would like, or that's the guy that I should table beside because he has shit similar to me. I'm usually the weird sore thumb that sticks out. And I think TCAF, as far as, like, underground stuff goes, like, yeah, they got some... There's some racy or risky stuff, I guess.
Okay. Is it more the sort of self-made hero kind of graphic novel, introspective.
I think you see a lot of the same shit, which is why, like, for a lot of years I would apply to TCAF and I would never get in.
Right.
And I sort of like felt like this is like attack on my character. Like my comics aren't valid. Like I don't put a ton of work into them because it's not the same fucking auto bio bullshit or whatever it is that people are putting out. But I came to realize it's just like, no, they're just very stringent with who they select and how they select them. I actually went to a
big
seminar.
Deal now. I think TCAF's kind of TCAF and Angoulême are the two. If you ignore the repop mess that there is, they're the two main ones I think at the moment.
I think you're right, and they actually had a seminar about how to apply to TCAF and what they look for, and it's not necessarily that they want everyone to do the same thing. That was my misconception as a bitter artist. It's just that they want you to treat your artwork, whether it's Peeper Creeper or like the next big hit indie thing, like it's a job, and like this is how you're presenting yourself, and you're trying to be as professional as you can, whether or not what you're doing.
God, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, I know it does sort of sound terrible. Yeah. But that's how they do it, right? Like they want to take your work seriously, regardless of what the level of your work is or your skill is. So realizing that, it's like, okay, now I'll apply to TCAF, and I started to get in. But I never actually have been able to table at TCAF because the first year I got in, our daughter was born. The next year, COVID happened. And then after that, it got rescheduled to be an online-only thing. And I have zero desire to do any convention stuff that's online because
we've had a lot of that over here. We're just not finding it's getting any traction. Really.
Exactly, because social media does that for people every day. So why would I bother sending people to a .com website when they're already coming to see my shit somewhere else digitally? So maybe that's a fickle, narrow viewpoint. I would love to be proven wrong and figure out that there's a better way to do it, but I don't see it. So
I don't think you can charge for it. I think that's a step too far as well. I think you can't. There's so many podcasts and YouTube videos of everyone you ever want to see. You can't really,
It's so easy to put yourself out there. So there's all these other forms in which people have already done it.
As soon as you put a barrier in, that's it. Like people go somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, there's no substitution for putting yourself out there in person. So it's nice that people have tried. But I just want to go back to having like a normal-ish convention.
Is it opening up for you? Is it? And I know New York's kind of slightly limited, but that's opened up now, isn't it? And we've got MCM and Thought Bubble at the end of the year here. Things are starting.
Yeah, my specific region has not quite opened up yet. We're still, I think, in like phase 2 of the lockdown, so a lot of stores, retail still closed and things like that.
Oh, mate.
But all the other areas around me are starting to slowly open up, but there's certainly no public events being held or publicized yet.
What's the score with vaccinations with you? Are they rolling out or...?
They're rolling out, but they were rolling out a lot more slow than other places. Like, you go to a baseball game in America, it's full capacity and no one's wearing masks. Here, we're not having, shit like that. You can't even go to a bar to watch a sports game. So, I feel like our vaccination rollout shit was a lot of like, have you ever heard the concept of under promise, over deliver?
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like that's the way the government was trying to play it out. It's like, oh, we'll say that everyone can get their vaccine within 6 months, and then we'll bump it by another 3 months, but then they'll be really happy when we give it to them in 8 months.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it got delayed after the first doses that people got, and then all of a sudden it was just like, everybody get your fucking doses now! Like, when I went to go get I just got my second dose the other day, and I had to wait over an hour to get my second dose. And, like, keep in mind, like, I went and I had an appointment scheduled.
Yeah.
I didn't just go there willy-nilly. I had an appointment scheduled, and I still had to wait over an hour just to get into the building to get my vaccination. Yeah. Whereas the first time I went to get the vaccination, it was a ghost town.
Right.
There was no one there, and I'm not sure if it's like people holding out or not knowing how to get it or what's going on. But
it's weird. When I went into central London today, and it just feels like people have just gone, fuck it, and just started getting drunk and boning a lot. It's like that. It's sort of
yeah, because they realize there's a lot of other diseases you can get doing that, so they're just going to go full board.
Just go from all.
What's one more, right, on top of VD or gonorrhea?
What is it, like Pokemon Go? You just fucking collect them all as you...
Yeah, exactly.
Travel the city.
It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game.
Badge to have, we joke, but in all seriousness, I wouldn't fuck around with COVID.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah.
Are things actually getting better for you guys down there too,
Yeah,
or is that the thing they're just tired of it and they're just going fuck it?
Well, there's a bit of that going on. We're getting like every weekend there's some march going on about people who said, "Oh, we'll lift the lockdown," and we've just been extended through for another few weeks before we open up properly. I'm double jabbed. Both you boys are single jabbed, but waiting for your second one. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And with our convention season, we got a first one in September. It's a bit of a tester one, and then the main ones are in October. So we got Thought Bubble. I don't know if you've heard of Thought Bubble before.
Yeah, I have. I very much would like to go there and table there one day.
Yeah, bring a new liver because it's quite a heavy drinking one. That one.
Well, we're too old for that game now.
We are, mate, aren't we? Yeah, we're not on the dice.
I am
Johnson,
fucking lame when it comes to that.
Yeah.
We'll all be lame now, though. I mean, none of us have been out drinking. That's the thing.
No, they were proper drinking for literally years. Or
that's the thing too. Like I used to play in bands too before I did comics, so like that would be the thing to do is everyone would play a show and then go get fucked up during the show or get fucked up after the show. But our band, and this is like the type of person I was, we were just like, nah, we're gonna go to the van and we're gonna sleep, or we're gonna get to the next show early, or we're gonna go home now.
It's like you were tailor-made to be a comic creator. It's like,
Well, you'll see a lot of that at Thought Bubble. A lot of people who don't go out that much getting a little bit carried away on too much booze. I mean, there's a bit of that goes on at comic conventions over here.
1 pint wonders.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, we're hoping to, mate. We've got MCMs at the end of the year. We've got the Lakes Festival, which is a sort of, it's kind of like they've modelled it a mini on Glem. It's sort of set across a town up north in a sort of picturesque northern town. Yeah, so fingers crossed, touch wood, it's all happening here. We'll see. We've got Frank Miller coming to Thought Bubble this year, so that's quite a big coup for us.
I saw that. That's pretty huge. What a way to come back convention. You have Frank Miller there. You can go get your anti-Zionist comics signed by him in person. I talk shit, but I love Frank Miller. This is all
we do too, man. He's Mount Rushmore for us. He really is. Do you know what I mean? He's a dignity.
He's a nut job, but God love him for
it. Yeah, some of the best people are. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't be the same without him. So all praise to Frank Miller, regardless of how good what he does is or isn't.
So obviously,
I asked you guys this. Are you guys familiar with Russell Taysom at all?
Don't think so.
Okay, he's my buddy. He does UK. He got his comics in the UK.
Really?
But,
what's his name again? Sorry,
Russell Taysom, Taysom.
Oh no, don't know.
Yeah, he's just a pal of mine. I never really realized how much he does or doesn't get his work out there, but I always see him posting new stuff, and I was wondering if you're familiar. He did 5 pages for my Comrade Kill book. That's going to be
look him up, man. Yeah, that's good to know.
Fun, silly, weird stuff. I think he's done a lot of strips for some music magazines down in the UK, so I'm kind of blanking on some of the titles of them, but
we probably know him from like Thought Bubble or somewhere. But I'll look him up. I've heard of him before. Yeah.
He was doing this one comic that I really liked called Art Mole Makes It Big, which was just like anthropomorphic talking animals, just like being terrible, but it was just like sort of a commentary and like a parody of what your local bullshit art scene is like and what all these hipsters are doing with like Instagram content through like the guise of this weird art mole and like hipster cat and blah blah blah. But it was really good. I don't think he's still doing it, but he should be.
Sounds good. Really... Sounds a bit like a comic version of Nathan Barley. Are you aware of the TV series Nathan Barley?
I can't say that I am.
Look it up, man. There's a comic there somewhere. It's just taking the piss out of East London. Used to be all cockneys and fighting and all this sort of thing, and now it's just full of people who wear flip flops on their head because they think it's cool. Do you know what I mean?
You're all a bunch of dandies. Yeah. I don't know. Is that a term that you would use to insult somebody?
I use that daily. They're
sort of hipsters, aren't they? They were sort of proto hipsters.
Yeah.
Nathan Barley.
Have a look.
I don't even know what fop means. Is that a bad word?
Fop.
No, I don't think so. That's all right.
Not too bad. Yeah.
Fancy
I'm
Dan.
getting confused with slang from another country.
No,
I think fop's an English one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello. I am foreign idiot man. Have you met me before? Let me introduce myself.
There's a superhero.
Hello, Governor.
One of the opening messages you sent me when we were talking about you coming on the podcast, you went, "Mate, I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know what I'm going to say." And I'm like, "Oh, this sounds good." Like this.
Welcome
I
home.
don't know what I'm going to say, and I'm a fucking idiot, but it's not going to stop me from coming on.
Yeah.
Shit anyways.
And you have been an absolute legend, sir. So
yeah, you guys flatter me too much. I'm not worthy. You guys.
No, that was good.
Mate, you've brightened up our day reading this comic. I've got
Yeah.
that's up.
And certainly for our lovely listeners who are definitely going to want to check out Peeper Creeper and the rest of your work, where can people find you, follow you, buy your comics, etc.?
Predominantly, if you you can go to patricksparrow.com. I'll make it easy for you. There's all the bullshit there. If you want to follow me on social media, it's at Patrick C. Sparrow, because the other Patrick Sparrow on social media, ironically, is a priest, so I had to get a different handle. And that's where you can find whatever bullshit I'm trying to sling out there. Gotta make the shit, and then make the people look at the shit, because otherwise, I'm just in the void, and then might as well be dead. And does anyone know that I'm alive, and does it have any merit? I don't know. I need people to see it to find out.
And what better time, people, go and legitimize this man's existence.
Yes.
Right now.
I mean, I don't want to sound desperate, but
Oh, we all are. We make comics.
Kill this cat. Yeah.
you get artists that are trying to play it cool and nonchalant, like they don't give a shit. It's like, oh, I don't even know where you can fucking follow. I don't even follow. Buy a book. I don't even. What's that? I'm gonna start playing coy. Go buy a fucking book for the love of God. Pampers to buy, baby. Woo!
Well, how was that? That was
good,
wasn't it? Yeah, there's a name to put on your lists.
Honestly, go to his Instagram.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh every day.
Yeah.
Come, vampire.
Definitely. Yeah, that's the first time we've had that phrase uttered on the show, isn't it? It's quite surprising, really.
Weirdly, we both released comics in the same week, and they both involve people drinking semen.
It's obviously trending.
Yeah. It's in the nadir, what they call it.
Don't talk sci-fi terms with me, Tony. But no, thank you, Pat, for joining us this week. That was a hell of a lot of fun. And seriously, folks, you have to see the comics for yourself. And it's another example of making comics because you love it, and that's what we're all about on this show. And speaking of comics because you love it, Nanny and Hank, that was pretty great.
Yeah, it actually looks all right.
Yeah.
I had a look at it in the break. It actually looks all right.
Yeah. So, you may have thought we were taking the piss, but this is what happens. You think, oh, and then you actually do an informed look at something.
There is egg and it's on my fucking face.
As long as it's egg.
Yeah. I'm not in one of your comics, Tony, don't worry.
We'll hear more about that in a minute. But do we have any shout-outs this week, gents?
Yes.
I'd
like to give thanks to Johnny Cannon, Damien Edwardson, and Ian Ashcroft and Tom Stewart, all who sent me comics this week. Thank you very much. Very nice to get comics through the post. Thank you, gentlemen. Also, shout out to Battle Hunting Beast Badges is up for pre-launch registration on Kickstarter. Cool. Don't sign up for that. The hardcover looks absolutely brilliant. And I noticed he's just added a tier where you can get a page of original art from it as well. It fucking looks brilliant.
I'm going to have to fucking look at that right now.
Yeah. And also crept up on us and pointed out by the mighty Harris on Twitter that the drink and draw that we held last Friday was the year's anniversary of our drink and draws. That's incredible. How quickly has that gone by?
Mate, I just don't know where fucking time's going to.
I just don't know. But they've all been great, and last Friday's was the same. Just to chuckle, a lot of talk about art, a lot of mucking about. Everyone's welcome, so please come along because they will cheer your week up.
We kind of chat about stuff we don't really chat about on the show, so you kind of think,
we chat about a couple of things that are in. We're not going to mention them here, but a couple of things that are in the comics sort of politics at the moment, and everyone had a very interesting and reasonable. We had a reasonable discussion about it.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, a couple of people's takes. I was like, that's very well considered, and
yeah. And the last one is come join us. Come to the Slack group. We're adding people every day, and that's also turning into a great place to have a discussion and to post anyway, and talk about new comics and artwork and movies and everything. So pop over and do that. The way you can find that is just message any of us, and we'll send you a link. To join. There you go. That's mine.
Dan, what have you got?
I've got the Hoards of Surrey Part 2 and Catch Up, a very British treasure hunt that's heading into its final days now. And the story is Mike and the gang have been having a simply splendid time hunting for buried treasure. The bad news, the Order of Surrey has been watching and is poised to strike. So that's written by Dave Woodall and art by our good friend Rory. Yeah, get on that, back that. It only needs the slightest of nudges to get it over the line and get it into print. And you'll have 4 days when you listen to this on Monday the 28th. So do it.
Do it now. Every time I'll do that.
We've signed up to his newsletter this week, and his newsletter says, sign up for my newsletter, do it now.
Yeah, and I did.
We did. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing from Arnie.
Yeah, me too. I like his little horses, because he's such a big lump. He doesn't have a dog, does he? He's like Shetland ponies running about his house.
Yeah.
I like that.
We'll put the link in the show notes.
No, we won't.
But we'll put.
I think a screen cap came up from last year where like he posted something for Pride, and someone said, "Oh, I can't believe you're putting stuff out like this, Arnie. I'm leaving this page." And he just put "Hasta la vista, baby." Cold as fuck.
Brilliant.
Who's the actress who's in Twins? That English actress used to be married to Kenneth Branagh.
Emma Thompson.
I saw an interview with Emma
Twins.
Thompson.
You're thinking of Junior.
Pardon me. Sorry, Junior. And there was an interview with her, and she was saying, "What's he like?" She says, "He's lovely. He's such a gent. He's genuinely the nicest person I've worked with." And the interview went, "Can he act?" She said, "No, not at all. No."
That one when there's someone threw the eggs at him. He goes, he was at like when he was governor of California a couple of years ago. Someone protester threw eggs at him. And he goes, "I'm pretty mad with this guy now because he owes me for like the sausages and the bacon." And it's just like the quick fire. He's got it. Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for the recommendation section of the show. Who would like to go first, gents?
I have two. I've got like a worthy mention and a normal one.
Well,
I'll do my worthy mention.
Yeah.
So Bloom, The Origin of the Prophet, issue 2, written by Ted Sikora, who did the colouring, the lettering as well, and art by Butch Mapper. I've mentioned the first issue of this. I don't know if you remember, guys. This is the one I showed you. This is the psychedelic cover. Picked straight up from issue 1. And it's so well done. I'm just so impressed with this series, and it's something that's it's one of those ones where, what am I going to recommend this week? And then sort of surfing Comixology. We do that occasionally, don't we? Just to see what we can find. And I came across this and then end up kicking back in the Kickstarter and everything. And he's got a bit of a universe going around these characters, but this is a call back to the 60s. It's the day Woodstock happens. A man and a woman, there's something strange and peculiar about her. They're out in the woods and he's photographing her as part of a photographic project, and they have sex. And something happens. It's clever. It's sort of slightly disturbing. It's cool. It is quite sexy. A couple of hippies in the woods, and then this man appears. Is she a demon? Is she not a demon? She holds a bug up to her eye, and the bug disappears. And he says, "Where's the bug?" And she says, "Well, it's in my eye now." And it's just this really strange story. But I think the heart of it is how a woman has gone quite mad after a man has had sex with her and then rejected her. And that's kind of at the heart of this story. It's very cleverly done. And also quite frightening. So it's Bloom, The Origin of the Prophet. I think he's about to kickstart 3 and 4 all in one go. Have a look at it. Really, really cleverly done, well made, just indie comics, and well worth a look. I think that's my first one.
Okay. I know what Dan's going to talk about, so I'll jump in first.
Okay.
With issue 1 of Vinyl from Image Comics.
I bought that today.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I think you're. This is from Doug Wagner, art by Daniel Hilliard, and colours by Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart's just one of the best colourists out there.
Yeah.
And I'll just make sure that I'll cover everyone. Letterer is Ed Dukeshire, editor is Kevin Gardner, designer is Sasha Ehad.
That's a lovely pause.
Sasha Ehad. I was reading it and I just thought, Is that the
I thought
name?
my connection dropped out there.
No. That was me trying to read as the PDF was opening up. I previously spoke about the book Plastic, which came out. Was it last year? I think.
I think it might even be 2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago.
I think it's pre-lockdown, wasn't it?
Yes. Plastic was about a serial killer who was in love with a plastic sex doll. And the creators of that have come back with Vinyl, which is a spiritual successor. It's not the continuation of that story.
Yeah, you can just read this one. You don't need to have read it.
Yeah, you don't need to have read it. Vinyl is very much all about records, obviously, and you can see that from the cover, you have a main character and there's sunflowers with the centre of them are vinyl records. But this is still keeping on the same path. It's an unsettling, as the synopsis says, an unsettling tale of psychopaths, sweet love, and a serial killer named Walter. When Walter's best friend, the FBI agent charged with his capture, is kidnapped by a death cult of all-female sunflower farmers, Walter finds himself deep within an underground labyrinth filled with secrets and monsters. But are their monsters more horrific than his? This is issue 1 of 6. I am on board for all 6.
Hilliard's great, isn't he? What a lovely line Hilliard has. I really like. Very clean, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, so very, very reminiscent. Dan, I think you'd be a big fan of this artwork with obviously Otley and the like for like Invincible.
It's like a gentle Otley.
Yeah, man.
There's a gentleness to it. Yeah.
But there's a real lovely line and brutality there because this book gets brutal, but it's also it's a real amusing character piece. It's like deep, visceral horror, but it has that. There's almost a comedic character piece.
I like the fact you get to halfway through it and it's all like, oh, they're wine tasting and they're in the countryside and look, sunflowers and all this sort of thing. And the middle pages is this lovely double page spread of him cycling through the countryside. Yeah. And then the end of it is just covered in blood.
Yep. Because it is this this undercover FBI agent who's just been hanging out with this guy and basically getting to the time where he's going to bring him in. They know he's a serial killer who you see these short flashbacks of listening to vinyl records, like classic vinyl records of Ella Fitzgerald, and you got the lyrics and then you just see like bits of human skin flash across the
it's a bit of folk horror as well, isn't it? There's a bit of that about it as well.
There's definitely, they got that whole sort of midsummer sort of like. I
didn't realise it's a wraparound cover. I'd only just noticed. That's quite a nice cover, actually.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's beautiful, but it's another case of like there's a horrible serial killer and another bunch of villains, and you're by the end of it you're with the serial killer,
right?
And so when it ends, you're like, oh, this is going to get good, and very cool. You know when like the slashers are almost like they're John Wick sort of like ultimate sort of appear out of nowhere and just gut someone. He's that kind of person, but he's also quite jolly in his own way, and he's very. but I know bits of storylines that are coming later, and there's going to be more. Walter has friends, and they are as eccentric as he is. And I believe they're coming to help, which means that it's going to get pretty fucking brutal as it goes on. But probably in a wonderful comic book way, because I love the way that they craft the stories in this. I think Wagner's got a great just grip on character. Gives you, it sets you up, drops you into the story, tells you enough to get attached to the story and what's going on, because. And then you're in it, you're dropped into it, without like, here is like 2 issues of how this character came to be. It gives you enough. You're like, right, I'm on board. Let's go. I'm glad it's 6 issues. There's only 3. I got it on Comixology.
Yeah, I've added it to my pull list. Yeah.
There's only 3 currently available, and it's going to go weird. It's going to get twisted. But if it's anything like Plastic, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it's not an all ages book because there's literally internal organs being.
This isn't really an all ages episode, is it?
No, not really. That's why it's quite fitting that this one goes in here.
That's what she said.
Yeah, sort of. And speaking of yes, get vinyl because it's really good.
That sounds good.
I did not know that this was, I had no idea. This was.
He's got another one planned, isn't he? And he's doing a third one.
It feels like that, Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, because I initially thought, vinyl, is that the sequel to Plastic? And I like that it's not. I like the idea of a thematic trilogy.
Yeah. And what he's going to do is the third one.
I don't know.
Blancmange.
Hessian.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that are uncomfortable when rubbed against you, Dan, do you want to
Daniel Butcher?
What do you want to talk about your?
Yeah, I've got this through. Mentioned earlier in the show. Got this Atomic Hercules: Weapon of Mass Destruction by Adam Falp and Tony.
Thank you very much, my friend, for backing. It's very
got this through. Yeah. Same day as we got Tales of the Creeper, and I saved it for a day or two before I read it, and there was just this. This is great. Oh, no. It's great. It's really good. Essentially, it carries on the wanderings of Herc, doesn't he, as he goes through? I don't want to spoil it too much because this is almost my thing. If you give away too much about the comic, I feel like you rob something of the potential reader. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the storyline is that I don't want to give that away. Essentially, Herc gets kidnapped and they try and milk him for his seed. And it's sort of set in it's the Nazis, isn't it, Tony?
Yeah. So it's a planet of I'm quite proud of the origin for the Nazis. It's you'll find out, but so there's a group of people who get called Nazis a lot on the internet for doing stuff, and they think, oh fuck it, let's just be Nazis then. And they also watch a lot of 70s and 80s British television and watch stuff like Hello Hello and get the sort of two confused.
It's great. So it's a double page spread of like how the society kind of like goes from the one point to where they see it. They're now in this like fascist Nazi future where they're and they're actually proper Nazis. They're fucking horrible.
Oh yeah, Hitler's there and everything. Yeah.
And
they're the villains.
I've said it before, man, but this fucking comic feels really edgy.
It's good.
It's like a million miles away from a lot of the stuff I get to read, and I really enjoyed it. There's so many references in it as well that if you're in the know, or sort of like the Sid James references, and when Herc's trying to keep the wolf from the door, so to speak, and he's sound like Tony Blackburn, Dave Lee Travis.
The Dave Lee Travis one made me laugh out loud.
The hairy cornflake.
Yeah. And then you got the two Nazi girls going, work the ball down the shaft or we will be here all day. Yeah, fantastic comic. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, mate. Cheers. Yeah, we don't like to be
and
safe.
I've got to say, Adam's Falpy's
how much is he improving? I mean, he's great anyway, but how much is he improving? I really do love that double page spread at the start there.
That one with the beach, I was just... I loved that. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, where he's worked the title into it and everything. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and you should have there's a kind of a sequel, not a sequel, but a kind of parallel story. If you check your inboxes, there's a 2-pager that we did as a little stretch goal.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah,
we'll check that out.
About the two people who appear at the end and demand something on the last page.
Gotcha. Yeah. Another ones. So where can they get that if they want that tea?
Yeah. Oh, it's not. It's going. It will be going up on neverwritingthing.bigcartel.com, and it will be up on Tribute Press as well, but we're letting it get out to the backers first.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah,
we think that's the right thing to do. So there's still some that have got to land in America. So once that's all landed, then we'll be sticking it out for sale. Yeah, and thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Alex the Campy could take a lesson or two from
exactly. Thank
Press.
You. Yes. She don't take no lessons.
No. Yeah. She ain't got nothing to learn.
Exactly.
What would you like to recommend, Tony, to sign us off?
Mine is Cutthroat, Tradesman's Special Edition, which even the title I think is good. We all love the Tradesmans, don't we? It's by Warwick Fraser Coombe. Firstly, the title is cut. The word cut looks as if it's fingers that have been cut off someone and made to shape a C, a U, and a T. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking freaky. And it's a collection, and it contains Revenger, Friendly Fire, Hungerville, The Ghost Exterminator, Hungerville 2, Resurrectionville, and Revenger, Friendly Fire Part 2. There's some of it has been reprinted elsewhere. I think some's in the Shift. Is it? What's the name of that sort of anthology? Is it Shift?
Yes, the Shift. Yeah,
I think some of it's in there. So I thought that was the wrong name for a second, but you're right. Yeah, that's it. We've spoke to him about his art. Do you remember V? Thought Bubble years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah,
he does some incredible work, doesn't he?
Yeah,
it's so detailed. I remember him saying, "I don't understand about compression rates or anything like that," but him telling you about the size of the file or something. Do you remember?
Yeah,
and you went,
yeah,
what?
and he works like to enormous sort of sizes as well, like original sort of size.
Yeah. It's really good. There's incredible detail in it as well. It reminds me a bit of somebody like Gary Spencer Millage from Strange Haven, or maybe somewhere between Gary Spencer Millage and someone like Martin Simmons. He lives in this sort of ground between the two somewhere. Very punchy with the colours. A lot of great use of red, especially throughout this as a shock tactic. Red, very good. There's an android in Hungerville which is especially nightmarish, and it reminds me a bit of when you were a kid reading ABC Warriors, and the robots in that are just fucking psychos. I think, Christ Almighty. Yeah, just people smushing humans up in their mouths and stuff. Christ, and it's a bit like that. It's sort of quite this demented creature, and he's on this planet collecting a debt from this dude. The planet's called Tangri 7 on this abandoned planet, and the planet comes alive, and turns out that it was abandoned due to the discovery of a liquid metal called transmetal, and the android and the man are now they're just fucked because they're on this planet surface, and the buildings grow mouths and eyeballs, and just oh my god, it's just great. How this dude is not working in 2000 AD, I don't know, because this would make a great 2000 AD sort of story. Just a real nice combination of horror and science fiction. And in this, so that's in two parts that split up in this sort of collection of stories. And in the second part, there's a bit where he meets the android team. So there's more of them, and he sort of fits his body into another android. It's clever. It's very well done. It's definitely not for squeamish people, but I absolutely ate it up. I messaged him straight away. I've reviewed some of Warwick's comics before, and I'm a big admirer of people in a different way, but in a similar way to we just heard from Patrick. People who are willing to push it, willing to experiment and take chances and stuff like that. And I really do think he's done that. It's the proximity to death injects fire into the soul. There's also some great lines in it. The writing is really, really on par. I think it's really good. There's one moment, and he designs things well. He makes things disturbing through design. So there's a bald man at one point, and he's attacked, and the villain, I think it's with a crowbar, is cut into the top of this bald man's head, the old Watchmen smiley face, and coming from that smiley face are words, and you think this. I'm not sure why, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but why has nobody done that before? Because it's a clever use. Do you know what I mean? It's spinning it somewhere. You can't. It's only available if you contact. If you know him on Facebook, you can get a copy through him there. But if you go to WARFRAS Warfras at hotmail.com, you can order a copy from him there. And he's got other work on the go. He uses life models to do a lot of his drawing as well. So I think that some of his work's been cut off because of the lockdown. He hasn't had the access to the models to use to draw. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So this is not a stopgap because it's brilliant, but this is the new thing out before he continues on with Skullfucker, which is another book which is also genius. So it's WARFRAS Warfras at hotmail.com. You can order a copy. There you go, small one.
Nice one.
So there you go. What an eclectic, dark, and wonderful selection of books for you to check out this week.
Yes.
Danger should be the middle name of this week's episode.
It's our middle name,
but in the best way. Go forth and check out everything that we talked about this week. And if you have any questions about this or upcoming events or upcoming comics or sort of different sort of comic initiatives that you want us to talk about, there's several different ways you can get in touch with us. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @theawesomepod, where we'll be tweeting about like upcoming shows or just retweeting great artwork, etc. And that's also another avenue to find out info about the drink and draw as well. So stay tuned for that because that's still going.
Yeah, another one coming.
Yeah. If you do Facebook, go to facebook.com/awesomecomicspodcast. And if you're on Facebook, then you definitely want to forget everything else and join the group Awesome Comics Talk, because there's a wonderful group of people on there chatting about comics, sharing comics and info, and all kinds of great community stuff on there. There's art threads, there's convention threads, all kinds. There's a hard selling if you want to do that, because we put a thread for it because we don't want it to just be blocking. It's not that kind of group. But Tony, you did put a thread on there, didn't you, for people to do that if they wanted to do that?
Yeah, it's in there. Yeah. It's a funny one. If you see someone posting it, don't just suddenly go, "Oh, I'm reminded that there's a thread on," also, and put everyone dogpile and put theirs in there, because it sends everyone else to the back of the queue. But there is also a crowdfunding section on the Slack as well, which you can use.
Yes. So, as we said earlier, join the Slack chat. Thank you very much for listening to us this week, whether it's on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe and leave a review. Helps get the word out about the show. It really does help us and people discovering the books that we talk about every week. If you listen to us on any other networks like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife, what other networks are we on, Tony?
We're on the political podcast network, Pod, Hands, Face, Finger.
Well, ask us in 5 years how well that dated.
I actually think that burnt my battery out the other day. I got so many memes through that day.
Yeah.
I think it killed my battery.
I reckon network traffic went up.
Yeah, I bet
this episode has been the largest amount of meme chat we've ever had.
I didn't know what one was.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But those memes came through, I thought, it can't get much worse than this. And then another one would turn up, oh yeah, it can.
Yeah, it just was non-stop.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah. It's much like this show. But we truly appreciate you checking us out every week. Thank you very much for supporting us and the show. We hope you enjoyed it this week. Where can people find you lovely guys online, etc.?
You can find me on Twitter at Vanguard Comic, and you can be Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com. I'm going to be posting up, as I'm starting to work on Viper 2, Soviet Strike. It's going to be all on Patreon, essentially.
Nice.
So if you want to get eyes on
board
coming up,
yeah.
The two boys that are on board, you can take a look there.
Nice. Tony?
You can find our new comic, which launches today at patreon.com/tribute press. Fame by myself and Demetrius Zach. I'm hoping you're going to find it funny. It made us laugh anyway. And also, can I quickly say, going back Rufus Marigold, because it also needs help.
Yes. Please, we'll get it over the line.
Yeah.
We loved last week. We really want a copy of it, so please go and back that as well.
Yeah, very much so. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jester Diablo. And thank you again to Pat for joining us this week.
Yeah,
what a dude.
Yeah, what a dude. And there's plenty more great guests in the future over the next couple of weeks. As the summer of awesome continues. That's not a thing.
Summer of love.
I mean, it's always a summer of love with us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Make of that what you will. But thank you again, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for listening. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and we hope you're happy, healthy. We love you. I know Tony does. He always he denies it every week. But
I'm overflowing with love for everyone.
What? Really?
No.
Oh, well, I appreciate it while it lasted.
I love you.
Oh, thanks, Tony.
And Dan.
Oh.
And Marina Sirtis.
Yes.
So, from Dan, Tony, Marina, and myself, have a brilliant week. Read loads of comics. And as always, what should they do, guys?
Stay
awesome.
See ya.
See ya.
like I got limited time to watch nonsense, so if I watch something that's going to be garbage, it's like got to be some sort of phenomenal garbage, not some sort of middle of the road garbage, which kind of is what Waxwork. So, but
it wishes it was Puppet Master. That's all I'll say.
God. Oh, God.
Puppet Master. Yeah, I'm not wasting any time on Puppet Master movies.
What? Tony, don't.
Let's end it there, man.